Who should be allowed to make art? Who gets access to education? Let's take it a step further. Who decides what topics can be learned and what art can be made? Witch Hat Atelier asks all of these questions and wraps them into a fundamental element of fantasy: magic. In Witch Hat Atelier, magic is something anyone can perform, if they only knew how to. But that knowledge is kept hidden from the public, and only a select group of society, known as witches, are trusted with this power. Or at least they are trusted with that power as long as they color inside of the lines. Hello, figments of my imagination, and welcome back to the Storykeeper Tavern. I love Witch Hat Atelier. One morning I was scrolling through Crunchyroll and the first episode showed up on my recommendations. I could never have guessed the chokehold the first episode would have on me. By the end of the episode, I was in absolute awe. I think Witch Hat Atelier has the potential of dethroning Fullmetal Alchemist as my favorite anime. And yes, I know I'm speaking heresy when I say that. But as I watched, I realized there was a subtext to the story, a lingering question. Who gets to dictate the boundaries of magic? Should they be dictated? Tonight, I want to sit with that question for a while and see what kind of answers the first season gives us. So please, order a nice hot cup of tea and join me as we explore the magical art inside of Witch Hat Atelier. Our story takes place in the land of the Pact, a land where witches are born with magic and the common folk are none the wiser. But society is built on a dark secret. Anyone could use magic as long as they have a special type of ink and know the correct casting circles. But this wasn't always the case. Before the Day of the Pact, magic was more commonly used by all. In the anime, we don't know much about what it was like before the Day of the Pact. What we do know is that magic was less regulated, if at all. Farmers could more easily water their crops, apothecaries could keep hospitals stocked with life-saving medicines, people could wage wars using the devastating power of a god. From the history we are told, this is why the Pact was formed. In episode 8, Kiefer explains that unrestricted use of magic led to wars and disasters. Magic was deemed too dangerous for the masses. A group of magic users, known as the Pointed Hat Witches, casted a memory eraser spell over the world. They changed history and spread the lie that only witches can cast magic, and the only way to be a witch is to be born one. But they didn't stop there. Not only did they take the knowledge of how to use magic from the masses, but they also set rules on what magic can be used. All other uses of magic were deemed forbidden. On one hand, the Pact most likely saved lives. Magic is a powerful force of nature. Magical warfare can be as devastating as nuclear war. Innocent bystanders can be caught in the crossfire. Landscapes now scarred and changed forever. But on the other hand, the Pact has definitely cost lives as well. In episode 9 of the anime, we are introduced to the Twin Bottle spell. This spell is used to transfer liquids from one place to another. During the events of our story, the spell doubled the power of Coco's spell. In doing so, her spell magnified and destroyed a river. But that's not the only way the spell can be used. Kiefer later explains that this spell is known as lost magic, and healing witches used to use the spell to transfer medicine long distances. Magic is power. It's not good, it's not evil. It just is. And power must be kept in check. If not, it could be used in terrible ways. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely good witches who believe they are keeping a secret for the greater good. But the result of the Pact is a system that reinforces classism and ableism. The privileged few are hoarding knowledge as a means to control society, not just over outsiders, but over witches as well. The best example of this is Tarta's story. Tarta was born with a condition known as silverwash, which coats his view of the world in a sheen of silver. Simply put, he can't see color. Because of his condition, the Pointed Hat Witches will not let Tarta learn magic. They say his disability will only hold him back. But Tarta is not limited by his body. He's limited by a system that seeks to other those who do not fit their view of who should be a witch. Tarta's disability will challenge him, yes, but these challenges will only make him a better witch if he were only given the chance. In episode 10, Tarta loses his hat and is unable to catch the ferry home because of it. In witch society, the hat is a symbol of status. This leads to him being left alone with Coco in a hospital while she is sick. He's able to quickly deduce that her fever is rising and decides to use tranquil leaf to help lower it. But the medicine is not labeled. Now, I won't say that the medicine not being labeled is a purposeful act of discrimination. Instead, I think it demonstrates how we can discriminate against disabled people simply by not considering them. But Coco, who is an outsider, quickly comes up with a spell that allows Tarta a seat at the table. Her spell doesn't work at first, yes, but this simple act of kindness is enough for Tarta to grab onto. He didn't need her to do everything for him. He simply needed someone to extend a hand and show that he belongs. Tarta's story teaches that society views some lives as too inconvenient to be worth investing in. The most interesting part about episode 10 is that Tarta is accomplishing these feats while not wearing his hat. Visually, the episode separates him from the institution at the very moment he begins discovering ways to use magic that society never made room for. In this moment, Tarta is framed less like an accepted pointed hat and more like the kind of outsider which society is built to distrust. In Witch Hat Atelier, the story uses hats to help visualize those who are socially accepted to use magic and those who aren't. Similar to how a hatless Tarta uses magic outside what society accepts, the brimmed caps take this visualization to the next level by wearing differently designed hats altogether. The brimmed caps in Witch Hat Atelier are a coven of rogue witches who reject the rules of the Day of the Pact. This coven not only uses forbidden magic, but also nudges outsiders, like Coco, towards using unauthorized magic. This can be seen when they give Coco her spellbook at the beginning of the series. But if the story is building a critique of institutionalized discrimination, then are the brimmed caps really set up to be the villains of the story? In most stories that critique governmental power, the rebels are usually built up to be the good guys. But Witch Hat Atelier doesn't conform to this sort of black and white storytelling. Yes, those in powers on the pointed hat witch's side are acting in immoral ways, but the brimmed caps aren't really the good guys either. Put simply, they are magical terrorists who use their power to harm innocent people. Giving Coco powerful spells without training is no different than handing a kid a gun and telling them to have fun. Here, Timmy, here's a gun. Go have fun. Oh boy, a gun! During the second pentagram advancement test, the brimmed caps forcibly carve magical sigils into Inuni's body. And then the season ends, and we don't know if this is actually reversible or if they've permanently scarred this boy's body. Calling the brimmed caps good guys is like calling the Joker a good guy. They are a product of society, but choose to turn their trauma into pain for others. Arguably, the brimmed caps are a more direct antagonist in the story than the pointed hat witches. The pointed hat witches' evil deeds lied in subtext. The brimmed caps are the story's antagonist. But I think that's the point of the brimmed caps. They are meant to be villains created by the Day of the Pact. I believe the brimmed caps are a product of discrimination. We have already covered Tarta and how he's being pushed out by institutionalized discrimination, but his treatment feels more indirect. The Knights Morales, on the other hand, are a much more direct threat. The Knights Morales are treated almost like the boogeyman. They are an order of pointed hat witches whose duty is to enforce the rules of the pact by any means necessary. Their enforcement comes from removing the memories of those who break these rules. They use fear as a means of control. When young witches are learning magic, they are constantly reminded that they need to color inside the lines, else the Knights Morales will take magic away from them. When we were introduced to Orugio, we learned that he is a watchful eye. His entire job is to be the eyes of the Knights Morales and to turn in people who disobey the pact. And Coco has done just that, in multiple ways. But Kiefer refuses to allow Coco to be taken in. He knows that they won't just erase her memories. They will erase her love for magic, fundamentally changing who she is. Then they would leave her as an orphan with no chance of ever saving her mother. After Coco has accidentally done forbidden magic by the river, the Knights Morales arrive. They don't ask questions. They just see that forbidden magic has been casted and that those who cast it need to be dealt with. If Riche hadn't jumped into action, Coco would be lost. Orugio claims that a witch's purpose is to spread the blessing of magic to all, but the Knights Morales are more concerned with making sure that power stays in check. Consequences be damned. The father and the son at the river demonstrate this perfectly. After the son has been hurt, the father claims magic can be used to save his son, to kill him. He just watched the Knights Morales use it to heal their cool little ribbon thingies. What are those called? Are they banners? That's not the point. The point is, the Knights Morales know this. They know that magic can be used to save his son. The father can see it with his own eyes. But that realm of magic is forbidden. The Knights Morales will make sure that this doctrine is obeyed. One thing that is important to note is that one of the forbidden forms of magic is magic that influences the body. No curing diseases or illnesses with magic. No using magic to help people who have lost limbs. All good things we see magic used for in various other stories. But something that is objectively evil is using magic to remove a person's autonomy. Something like erasing a person's memories and personality, which is the exact type of forbidden magic the Knights Morales use. The pact outlines what forms of magic are forbidden, but to keep their power, the Knights Morales use forbidden magic. It only reinforces that those in power are intentionally restricting those who aren't them as a form of control. Coco represents what magic should be, free and curious. She is fascinated by simple glowing floor tiles and magical flying boots alike. Philosophically, Coco is in direct opposition to what the Knights Morales is enforcing, and as the story moves forward, I can see the Knights Morales becoming a much more direct threat than the brimmed caps. Remember when I mentioned that this anime has the potential of taking the throne from Fullmetal Alchemist? At least in my eyes. Well, I think Coco and Edward share something in their stories. Their goal isn't to be the best, but instead is to save a loved one. But just like how Edward believably becomes the best alchemist, I believe Coco will end her story as one of the best witches to ever live. Coco has a love and passion for magic that is purer and more curious than any other witch we have ever seen. I believe our story will lead to her breaking laws put in place by the pact, and in doing so she will free magic again. When we decide that some people aren't allowed to make art, that some people are not allowed access to education, we are not bettering society. We are only depriving society of people who could go on to do beautiful things. Exclusion closes off possibilities. Inclusion allows the world to bloom into a brighter tomorrow. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, give that like button a friendly pat on the head. And for more story analysis, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to try to be posting a video at least once a month, hopefully. Though I am curious, how are you liking Witch Hat Atelier? Please try to keep the comment section manga spoiler free in your discussions. But overall, until next time, I hope you have an absolutely lovely day. Bye!